Thanks for staying with us. So in these times when fake news is rife and everyone is now a citizen journalist, we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. Now, how can we practice true journalism in this social media era, in this Sorosoke generation? How can Nigerians identify fake news from the true stories? What do we need to do to make sure that fake news does not spread like wildfire as we've seen in recent times? Joining us on the show is a Nigerian journalist, media entrepreneur, Kadaria Ahmed. Good morning, Kadaria. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you.
Good morning.
So you can call us on 09024163440. You can tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read your tweets. Kadaria, I mean, I think it's so right to have you on the show because this time where everybody is a journalist, everybody is saying something, you witness something, you record it, and you post it online, it goes viral, people get worried, and later enough, oh, it was fake news.
Yes.
You know, how do we get back the trust? How do mainstream journalists get back the trust of the people where we trust and we know that, yes, the news we're getting from the mainstream media is accurate?
Okay, so there are two things. Over the last few days, I've actually spent a bit of time fighting on Twitter about people trying to sort of discredit journalism.
Right.
And people kind of believing that maybe we're going on the defensive and we're not recognizing some of the issues that we have. So we have to separate the two things. Journalism still matters. Right. It is a critical function that is required for any democratic country. If you choose not to be democratic, then you can do away with journalism. But if you say that you're a democratic country, then constitutionally, journalists are there because they're supposed to tell basically truth to power and hold people in positions of authority accountable. Right. So the issue of fake news, which is basically misinformation and disinformation, so disinformation being a deliberate attempt to mislead people. Misinformation is where you make mistakes, you know, because things have gone wrong. The fact that these two exist is not a reason for people to say do away with journalism. That is what tyrants want. You know, that is, they don't want anybody holding them accountable. But do we have problems? Yes, we do. And it's not unique to Nigeria, unfortunately. We are in a misinformation and disinformation age globally. So as journalists, our job really is to follow process, is to put in place the things that we must do in order to ensure that whatever we take out to people is accurate, is credible, and where we make mistakes, to quickly own up.
Right.
I think trust is going to increasingly be a currency, and the media houses that cultivate and maintain the trust of audiences are the media houses that will do well. So again, it isn't saying that this isn't going on. It's about saying, how do we make sure that we improve our own standards? I mean, I'm a big advocate of self-regulation, you know, and there are conversations taking place within the industry. They are too slow, in my view, and I get really frustrated because I think it's in our interest to actually improve the quality of our offerings. It is in our interest for the audiences to trust us because we can't do our job well unless we have people trusting what we give them.
So based on this generation of, you know, we now have, you trained on that profession as a professional, but there are several journalists now on social media.
Yes.
What exactly can we do
but
to
they're
make
not
sure?
journalists. This is the
what
issue,
are they?
right? So
what are they and how do we check?
They can be bloggers, they can be social commentators, they can be even what you call citizen journalists, right? And I think it is important that when people get news, they realize the source of that news. And that's why I'm saying media houses actually have a lot to gain from investing in training their journalists, from ensuring that before they take things out, that they verify those things. So there's a lot of training on verification because you can differentiate yourself based on the quality of what you give people. Now, we have seen the democratization of information as a result of social media, right? You can't, you know, dial that back. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right? So if you look at the quantum of what we call fake news, misinformation, disinformation versus the good that social media has done in terms of giving people access and a voice. The good outweighs the bad. So you can't throw away the baby with the bath water. You know, you understand what I'm saying? And this idea that you should start to gag freedom and people's ability to talk is just not acceptable, right? We unless, again, like I said, if Nigerians today make a decision that we don't want a democracy. We want an autocratic government because we think that is where we're at in our development. Finding a big man that will take decisions for us. That's an entirely different thing. But if you say you are a democratic nation, you can't have a democracy without journalism. It's really that simple.
I find that people believe what they want to believe. So you put out an information and sometimes they say because of the climate, what you said does not really show like support for what is going on right now, and therefore what you're saying, and therefore what you're saying is wrong, even though it is true. How can I be a good journalist as well as
we are very factionalized in this country, and sometimes people forget that Nigerian journalists don't come from mass. You understand what I mean? They are regular Nigerians with some of the biases that are inherent. The way to do that is to build a process that makes journalists aware that they have biases, so that you eliminate those biases from the way they report. And that is done through process, which is why, you know, a blogger is different from someone working in a place like this, where there's a process for collating the news, checking it, and taking it out. And if you follow those processes and you put the right processes in place from the beginning, even your journalists will be aware that my biases are about to kick in. Maybe I need to dial down. Having said that, we do black and white too much in this country. You know, we don't do nuance. We don't do complexity. So it's either it's all wrong or it is all right. Or this is, we are anti-Buharis or we are pro-Buharis. How about you be pro-Nigeria? Right? And everything, so that whatever you are reporting on is based on what works for this country.
Let me ask you, especially with the experience we've seen with the international media, CNN, Fox News, we've seen all their leanings, and we're seeing journalists having to almost wear on a new character. Bringing it in the Nigerian context, anything you say, no matter what you say as a journalist, people judge you based on where you work. Oh, XYZ owns you. Oh, XYZ is the sponsor. XYZ, you know. And even you have a journalist trying to do your work professionally, it's beclouded by that perception. How do journalists, especially those who are coming up, how do they begin to show that they're different?
Two things you've raised. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having ideological leanings. Internationally, you've had newspapers actually come out and declare for a candidate during elections, for example. The issue is not to pretend that you do not have an interest. And that's why they say, look, declare your full disclosure. Declare your full disclosure. I'm pro-Trump. Okay, so I'm pro-Trump, but I'm telling you da-da-da-da. What it does is that you are then saying to your audience, I respect you enough not to lie to you. I respect you enough not to try and pull a wool over your eyes. I am saying to you, this is my position when it comes to this man, but here are the facts, the way I have put them together. And then that way, people will take everything and run it. Look, it will take time. Because Nigerians are also, let's be honest, we have fault lines. Like I said, we are not... we are not where we should be, but it's progress. 200 years of democracy unraveling in the last 4 years under our eyes. And somehow we think we're going to wake up in a Nigeria that is perfect within how many years? It doesn't work that way, right?
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Kadaria. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we still have Kadaria Ahmed with us. Yes, Nima had a question.
I think you as a veteran owe certain people the opportunity of training. So these bloggers that we always group up and, you know, just discard, is there a possibility that, you know, the Institute of Journalism can offer them the opportunity to get properly trained so that we have, at least, because that platform is huge, we have proper news.
Look, you can take a horse to water. You can't force a horse to drink. If someone decides they're opening a blog and they want to write, and well, yes. So we've just opened our radio station, Radio Now 95.3.
Congratulations!
And part of the reason why we did that was that we thought the radio broadcast space has a gap. You know, we think Nigerians, we don't do the why, the context, the analysis. So what does it mean? How is it going to affect me? If I wanted to get engaged, what do I do? That sort of journalism is what we want to do. And part of what we're doing at the moment, there's a boot camp that is taking place where we've sort of, made a call out for young journalists. 3,000 people applied.
Oh, wow.
I know. 50 were shortlisted.
Oh, okay.
And those 50 are now in the boot camp, and we're going to sort of work with them over the next few weeks, and then we'll sort of whittle it down to about 25 who will join us. And of those 25, about 15 will end up with full-time roles. And part of that is the recognition that people might have the talent, they might have the passion, but at the end of the day, journalism requires skill sets. And you have to teach people how to gather news, how to put it together, how to do it in a way that enables people to trust that process.
Let me take this call from Chris. Chris, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mariah. Good morning, everyone there.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
All right. Without being immodest, thank you, Kadaria, for this opportunity. I think you've put in one or two nuggets into our heads, and especially with the way we are going at the people in terms of news information. But I want to ask something very pertinent. I think the journalism industry should take responsibilities and own the media space, not only the traditional media, but the social media space. Now, say for instance, without being disrespectful, the three people sitting beside you, are they professional journalists? That is the first question to ask. And how do you separate them from being on television this morning and afterwards with this huge followership they have on social media? How do they interact? How do they put themselves between working for an established normal print and then they are having their private life on social media? So the journalism industry must own responsibility to try to make sure that these things are put. We've seen eras now where radio presenters, DJs, and so on and so forth are becoming journalists using their platform to also perpetuate and encourage what they've seen on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me respond and direct the question, because the truth is that when we started Your View, for example, the idea was to get Nigerians to talk and get women to speak and have a view. So we didn't get professional journalists. We got regular Nigerian women who depend on the professional journalism system that we have in place to talk. Okay, still there. So that was the idea. But the truth is that as citizen journalism is increasing and we're realizing that more Nigerians are getting into that space, we are the leaders to show how it should be done. Yes, we're not the trained professionals. However, our job is to ensure we do it the right way and still use the same processes professionals use.
So here is something he said that is really important. He is absolutely right. The industry must take responsibility. There's no excuse for some of the errors we see, both in traditional media, but also traditional media utilizing social media platforms, right? There's no excuse for it. However, I keep insisting you have to have a nuanced conversation. The fact that the media is getting some things wrong, it's not an excuse, because over the last few days, off the back of the NSAS protest, what you've done is you've seen anarchists on Twitter, on social media saying, do away with journalism. Nigerian journalism, rubbish, da-da-da-da-da. Without Nigerian journalism, you will not be able to have the conversation you're having today. People forget people died. You know, people like Kule Ajibade were in jail. People like Dapo Oloriyomi, so that we could speak truth to power. You understand? They fought the military to a standstill. It is the reason why you can go out and actually vote and decide that this is the man you want to run you. So my issue is not holding the media or the journalism accountable. We must. And I think the media industry is not doing well enough. You know, there are conversations that are happening internally that I'm very frustrated are happening too slowly, in my view. And what you do, if you don't take care of it yourself, is you allow room for autocratic government to say, well, because of ABCD, we are going to take control. So that's one thing. But when you talk about people who sort of didn't start out as journalism, a journalist is not only someone who went to journalism school. When I was at the BBC, some of our biggest reporters, for example, the guy reporting the legal beat, has done it for 20 years, started out as a lawyer. There are people who report the sciences that read chemistry, physics. What makes you a journalist is the process you use in gathering your news. So if you follow a process and you're not just clicking and putting out, you follow the process of you collect, you verify. You speak to the people involved, you hear all the viewpoints, and then you go out again and check, and then you report. You're a journalist.
Yeah. Then sometimes we hear this journalism should take responsibility, but sometimes I wonder if citizens should also take responsibility for what they choose to consume, what they would prefer to consume. So you have information out there. you have one that's gone through the processes, but it doesn't sound right in your ears. It doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, so here's something that they're doing in other countries, and there's something that we too want to start doing recently, something called media literacy. Countries, even with the best journalistic institutions, places like France, Germany, they realize that there are people who are deliberately setting out to misinform. So from primary school now, they're introducing something called media literacy, teaching young people how to discern, how to be able to tell what is fake, what is made up, etc., etc. And I think globally this is going to be something that
we have to wrap up very soon. But just going back to what you're planning, I think what you're doing is laudable. I think a lot of young people need a proper training. Yeah. Because you're our person now, so tell us more about it so we can tell our viewers. Is it free? I hope it's free.
What?
To apply. Well, they've already shortlisted already.
Unfortunately, they've shortlisted. It's over. But we launch Radio Now 95.3 December 1st. We're doing test transmission now, yes.
Fantastic.
And so...
Oh, there's a party, social distancing party.
Sorry, on Zoom. But, you know, just people should listen, and we'll be open to people telling us if we're doing things wrong. We really believe that currency is going to be trust. And that's what we're going to try and do on Radio Now 95.3, is to earn the trust of audiences and hold it, and use that as a way to sort of discuss the things that we think are important in this country.
What's going to be your point of difference? What's that?
It's again starting with trust, but we are interested not in so much in breaking news, but in analysis and context. We think not many people do that. So it's about what it means, why it matters, you know, what you can do about it, how you can get involved.
Fantastic.
That's
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
We'll look out for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did. Thank you very much, Kadaria, and all those who called in. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.